Hi, I'm Chad with Move Forward Guitar. This lesson is from our course, Music Theory 2. All the lessons for this course are free on YouTube, so you can follow right along with the playlist or look in the description below for links to the rest of the lessons. To accelerate your learning though, I highly recommend you download the corresponding Music Theory 2 workbook and eGuide. To learn more about the workbook and eGuide, click the link on the screen or look in the description below. Welcome to Music Theory 2, Lesson 7. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about the major scale. In Music Theory 1, I talked about what a scale is, and I told you that a scale is just a series of notes ordered by pitch. And if you went through Music Theory 1 and watched that lesson, I think you should have a fairly good grasp of what a scale is. I also talked about the major scale a little bit in that course. But now I'm really going to dive into the major scale, because the major scale, like I mentioned before, is the most important scale in Western music, because the majority of the chords, harmonies, melodies, everything you hear in our music, in Western music, the majority of that is coming straight out of the major scale. So it's really familiar to our ears. It's what most of Western music is built on. And even when other scales are used, you usually relate it back to the major scale to explain what's going on. So in this lesson, I want to dive into more about the major scale. I talked about the construction of it in Music Theory 1, which I'll go over again, but I also want to talk about the intervals and some more important information. And as we go through the rest of the lessons in this course, we're going to dive deeper and deeper into the major scale because it is so important for music theory. So I'm going to talk about the construction again, even though I talked about it in Music Theory 1, just to give a brief overview. So I'm going to take this chromatic scale. It's a G chromatic scale, but right now the note names don't matter. We're looking at the intervals. As you can see on the screen, we have the tonic, flat 2, 2, flat 3, 3, 4, flat 5, 5, flat 6, 6, flat 7, 7, back to the tonic, an octave higher. And you should remember that those were all the intervals of a chromatic scale, or from one note to its octave. As I talked about in Music Theory 1, to build a major scale, you use the formula whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So that would mean that you start on the tonic, whatever note you start on is the tonic. Then you go up a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And that would give you a major scale. So if we're looking at the major scale in intervals, it would be the tonic, the major second, the major third, the perfect fourth, the perfect fifth, the major sixth, the major seventh, and then back to the tonic. So it'd be tonic, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to tonic. So those are the intervals of the major scale. And it's fairly simple because you don't have any flats or sharps or anything in it, so it's easy to remember. It's just basically tonic, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to tonic. And that would stay the same no matter where we built this from. So if we built it from this note, which just happens to be a C sharp note, but it doesn't matter, we use the same formula, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, we would end up with another major scale. It would just be tonic, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, back to tonic. So any note that I start on, I'd make that my tonic, use the formula for building a major scale. These are the intervals I would end up with no matter where I started on the neck, or what string, or anything. And then if we wanted to apply it to the actual note names and actually figure out what note names are, you could just pick any note. I'll just pick C because it's an easy major scale since there's no sharps or flats. Make that my tonic, apply the formula, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. I'd end up with the C major scale, which is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, back to C. You should remember all this from Music Theory 1. So that would mean that the C is the tonic, the D is the major second, the E is the major third, the F is a perfect fourth, the G is a perfect fifth, the A is the major sixth, the B is the major seventh, and then of course back to C is the tonic. And that would work no matter what note I started on. If I started on a G, built a major scale, G would be my tonic, A would be my major second, B would be my major third, C would be my perfect fourth, D my perfect fifth, E my major sixth, F sharp, and you should remember why it's an F sharp instead of a G flat from Music Theory 1, but basically you just always have to go in the alphabetical order. Since we're going from E to G, we have to have an F in between there. It wouldn't be another G. So F sharp is my major seventh, and then just back to my tonic an octave higher. So that would work with any note you started with, and then the note names that you end up with, it would always be tonic 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And like I said, we're really going to dive deeper into the major scale through these lessons. This is just giving you a good foundation for understanding how the major scale works with intervals. And we're just going to continue to build off of this. So those are the intervals of the major scale. In the next lesson, we'll dive even deeper into the major scale. Look in your Music Theory 2 workbook for step-by-step guidance on how to retain this information and what to do next. And remember, all the charts and diagrams for this lesson are in your Music Theory 2 eGuide for you to reference at any time.